Hello, Bob.
Hiya, who's that?
Hi, this is Dee, and Marty's here beside me from Morning Glory on Radio Nova. Thank you for taking the time for us.
All right, I actually forgot. I was just fucking working away and suddenly I got a phone call.
Well, we won't dwell on that too much. Thank you for taking the call in the end.
So you're well, we're well prepped then.
I was so nervous. I was up all night thinking about it.
Well, we have that effect on people, Bob. Yeah,
Sure.
definitely.
Jim Kerr said exactly the same thing
He
from
did
Simple Minds last week when he
yeah.
was in with us. Yeah.
No.
My name is Marty, and Dee has already introduced herself as well. In fact, I think we met a couple of times when you were in here last time you were over or whatever it was.
Yeah, okay, I got you.
Nice to chat to you again. Is this 1977 all over again? You know, Moran's Hotel, you guys, the Radiators, or now the Pilgrims, doing it all again?
Well, you see, you're showing your age there. It's 1975 all over again. Why the Radiators? They're Johnny come lately. Get with the programme.
Yeah, Marty.
Well, 1975. Okay, if you want to focus in on the 40 years exactly, you're absolutely right. I mean,
Well,
Jesus.
we were doing Morans, and yeah, you're right. I mean, that was the year for us because we'd gotten together in the summer. And if you consider what was going on, the big album the next year was the Eagles. I think so. Here we were sort of rejecting that stuff out of hand, along with as it turned out, people in Britain and America. But and down in Morans around November, tiny, small. I know this is the usual sort of rock and roll legendary thing, but it was tiny and. A bar, and we were playing that German sort of electronic stuff, Can and Noi, and projecting all these weird sort of scenes on the wall, and we'd got barbed wire strung up along the back of the little teacher's platform that was the stage. So It was pretty wild, but you had all the lads down there going, Jesus, what's going on there? Can you give me a couple of points there, Sean?
Priorities.
It's worth celebrating,
You're absolutely right. And I love that line you've just given us there. It's stuff about the Eagles and rejecting it out of hand. Without even hearing it, it was just rejected, right?
Well, I've been aware of what was going on. I guess the others were in the Rats, but you see, I've been writing about music in Canada on the Underground newspaper there, which was before Rolling Stone became Rolling Stone. It was a local underground paper in San Francisco. Well, we were the local underground paper in Vancouver, which subsequently it spread out all over Canada. I was the music editor there. I blagged my way in. So 50% of the paper was dedicated to music, and that was sort of under my wing. And we were getting these albums from the record companies, but there was, stuff like Poco and Buffalo Springfield and stuff, which I got, and I have to admit I was liking it, but it didn't seem to mean very much to me. And I got kicked out of Canada because I was an illegal immigrant. But
and we're okay and lovely working there.
I was listening to Roxy music. I was listening to Lou Reed. I was listening to Bowie and stuff. So and I thought that whatever was going on there, I was responding to that rather than. I mean, great music, Poco and the Springfield of that. Don't get me wrong, but there was no response to me. And so then I come back to Ireland, and there's literally nothing going on in any sense, economically, culturally, musically, politically. It was dead. And so, you take up all of that and you meet with your mates, like down in the bar in Dunleary, and they can, put a couple of chords together, and you're sort of like-minded about this. The music that you sort of want to hear now, you go back to when you were 14 and 15.
Yeah.
And so we went back to, The Who, the early Stones, and pre that as well. And we just started playing it very, very fast and very loud. I mean, a mate of mine, Kieran Fitzpatrick, sent me over some tapes he made of us in Cliff Castle in Dalkey, and we're doing All Day and All of the Night and My Generation, but it's so noisy. I mean, it's not at all like those records, just this storm of noise,
but wait,
which is cool.
Is there any chance, though, that you will get out on the stage at the Olympia on Sunday and belt through a couple of those again for the crack?
Yeah, I mean, what we've been doing, and you've probably heard me boring people with this already on some other forum, but for whatever reason, in our heads, and I include all of us in this, we're sort of ignoring albums 4, 5, 6, even though probably they're the band at its best, actually, in terms of playing, etc. Because what we feel like playing, and I stress this because we do other stuff as well if we wanted to, what we feel like playing is really album 1 and, parts of 2 and 1 or 2 from album 3. And they all seem to fit into one. So it doesn't stop. The minute we're on stage to the end, it doesn't stop. And it's not thought about. It just feels like that's what I want to hear now. Now, that's me and the rest of the guys, but it seems to sound, I'm not sure if it sounds contemporary, but it probably does, because that period of 76 through 78 influences a lot of the sounds of today. It might sound like that, but it also sounds like that's the proper way to play music again, that it seems to suggest, I don't know if it suggests the time, but it suggests maybe the frustration of the time, and I don't want to get heavy about this, but what the economic situation we passed through, which is very similar to the one we encountered back in 1975. No chance at all if you're a kid, none. And so maybe it's that, I don't know, but once we hit the stage, it's 2 hours of head down, see you at the other end,
Love it.
You did say recently, Bob, we did hear you said you always feel that you're 25 in your head. So how does that work when it's a 40th anniversary show coming up?
I don't feel I'm 25 in my head. I'm very aware, but it doesn't bother me, of the age I am. I'm very aware that I have to put things in perspective from the point of view of my age and maybe talking to somebody who is 25. But I'm not sure that that's difficult because, as I say, the situations that arose that gave rise to the Rats or a year later to the Pistols and the Clash and those guys are pretty much similar. But there's different ways of expressing it these days. You've got new media, you've got different things, different ways of expressing it. But I don't feel I'm 25 in my head. It's when that music starts by this very powerful band that I feel no age at all, and which I guess is self-flattering to the band, but it in that it seems to have survived. It seems to be ageless. I mean, we put out an album of like some hits, but mainly other tracks from old albums with a couple of new ones, and it was next to the Who also put one out. It was the biggest selling one. That's right. So maybe that's to our generation. But I never feel 25 in my head, nor do I particularly feel 64, which is my age. I just exist in a sort of lacuna of the self, if you like.
That's a nice way to put it. Actually, we were at Simple Minds there at the weekend.
And Stranglers.
And Stranglers, of course. And you overheard somebody say, God, this place is full of old fellas, but he was of the age, the same age.
Absolutely of the age. And he was looking around, obviously thinking about how they would have seen these bands first time round in the 70s and thinking about, Yeah,
but if you looked around at U2 in the park, like you'd have said the same thing. I mean, I went to see the lads in the O2, and largely the age group was 40s, and that's that generation. And of course, there were a good deal of, younger people in that, because this is a legendary band, etc., and they wanted to hear the classics. But the rock and roll age, you've got to remember, started in 1956. We were generation 3, I guess. If you take 1 as Elvis and Little Richard, you take 2 as the Beatles and the Stones, etc. Then 3 would have been the groups from 75 in our case, but 76 up until whatever. And then probably the last generation in the history of rock and roll were the 90s crowd. I can't see really a relevance to that, here we sound very grand, but that minor art form. So let's say your last hurrah was Oasis, Blur, the Nirvanas and that.
Nothing since
after
then,
that, it kind of was over. There was nothing really that this style could demonstrate or could articulate. That seems like it to me. There's lots of good music around, but I think the rock and roll age was 50 years, a 50-year pop. Much to my dismay, I thought it would go on forever.
But we're just happy the bands are still doing.
I think it's over, and so you get people from all of those generations showing up at gigs. Like, I would go absolutely to see a new band that did it for me. I wouldn't give a shit what age they were, So, and of course I'm exposed to loads of it because I'm in that game, but also because of my girls who,
Yeah.
their guys are in bands. Pixie is making an album in LA at the moment, so
Great.
it's constantly in our house.
But who
so I
are
would definitely
you
go.
hearing though, Bob, in the house? Who are you hearing?
Well, my mind's gone blank now, but
That's all right.
I should have included Arctic Monkeys in that roundup of bands because they're just beyond excellent. There isn't a bad album, and particularly the last album is just stunning.
Massive, yeah.
So
they're probably doing it with the right, and it can't be learned. It must be felt. The right attitudes, which is the essence of, I guess, rock and roll. And at the moment, I just listen to. Really, whatever's new. I said in the house, but I hear it in passing. I listen to the radio in the car only. I never put on music in the house. And I'll tell you why. It's maybe like you guys or anybody involved in music. You're listening. Do you know what I mean? You're listening to what they're doing.
Yeah.
It's
Can't
like a
switch off.
director going to see a movie. I doubt if he can sit back and enjoy the story. He's looking at the actors. He's looking at the cut. He's looking at this, that, and the other. When I hear it, I'm dissecting all the time, and I'm jealous or envious of a riff or a lyric. I think, God, that's clever. But I also love it. And the girls, even they'd be playing stuff. But the truth is, well, there's only one of them living at home now, the youngest. But she's got a Dan set, one of those record players that we used to have, and I had mine still, and she's put it in her room.
Oh my God, are you serious? So you can load the discs up, one of those ones?
Yeah, but I think that's to do with nostalgia, But I mean, but the truth is, if you want to listen to a mono record, that's the way to hear it because, as you know yourselves, it doesn't split into stereo naturally. And I've still got a load of my old singles, so I've got the original Gloria and My Generation and, the first Beatles EPs and Stones albums and that. So she puts them on, and that's the way to listen to them. But, she buys albums, vinyl albums now, and she doesn't tell me. She doesn't go, hey, look what I've got as sort of...
It's just happening naturally.
To me. But she came back at the weekend on vinyl with an early Madonna album, James Taylor's Sweet Baby Jane, and Blue by Joni Mitchell.
Love it.
That's a mix.
19-year-old.
Love it.
And
Love it.
all these albums are ancient,
Yeah, but she's also growing up in a very musical house.
Well,
and
it's a
that's
quiet
very
house by the
obvious.
sounds
No,
of it.
really. I mean, look, I don't know if you have kids yourself, but they found, for example, Dylan, they found the Velvet Underground, they found the Rolling Stones. The albums are around, and as I said, I don't play them, but nor do I push it down their neck. But trawling through, the web or the net or hearing stuff or going to parties and hearing stuff at registers, and so you go back to what's absolutely true. It wasn't a mistake that these people are geniuses. Really, it wasn't a mistake. It just survives as being true. And, if that's the case, then it'll work forever.
Well, coming back to stuff that will work forever, right? Let's talk about some of your things. We had Pete on not so long ago. In fact, I think it was while the Vicar Street show was going on the Cork show a couple of years back. Yeah. He was saying that doing the Rats tunes again was like jumping on an old bike, really familiar, really worn in. But he says that you guys now do them better. Would you agree with that?
I would, and you've got to pay attention to what Pete says because, he's produced now 30 albums and, he's written lots of stuff himself for movies and things. So, people kind of don't know that about the Rats. They went on and individually did huge stuff. He genuinely knows what he's on about. And if you're working on something like you guys or like anyone listening to this, you're in it. You don't kind of appreciate it. At certain points, it's a drag, and you're interested in what you're doing, and you're working hard to make it right. But years later, you say, "God, geez, that was a good part of my life." In our case, when you're young and you're going for it, I was writing a lot of the songs and having to do the interviews, and on one level, really, liking it, but at the same time, scrabbling to the top is exhausting, and it's non-stop, and it's a young man's art, that's the truth, but you really need to keep on it. And so, as we passed each hurdle, we weren't really aware of it. I got kind of frightened as we got to each stage, and it got bigger and bigger and bigger. And of course, there was the triumph of being number one. If you've lived your entire life as a kid, against the background of the UK top 20, and suddenly you're it. There you are, you're number one. But it lasted for me a day, and then the panic about what do I do next?
Yeah,
is it all over? Or you're selling a huge gig, and you're all the time, you're hearing, well, the Clash sold it quicker, or the Pistols charged more for the tickets, and you only sold it. It took you 3 days to sell it out. It took whoever to sell it in 1 day. Or have you heard Elvis Costello's new record? It's genius. So all the time you're hearing that, and you're sort of going, fuck.
Looking over your shoulder.
Do you still feel pressure now, Bob, 40 years on?
And then suddenly, you're there, or where you think you're supposed to be, and it's odd. It's as everyone will tell you. Do you know those? The way carpenter apprentices had to make these sort of demonstration type structures, like you see them as models and that. And there's one that you often see. It's a winding stairs that they make in wood. They're very beautiful, the original ones. Now they knock them out in India, but it's just a winding stair that just ends. Okay. And it's like that. You're scrambling up this very vertical winding stair, and you get to the top, and it's not going anywhere. And so a sort of depression, I don't know if it's a melancholy sets in, and now you're sort of thinking about what you're writing all the time. So there's no point at which you can lay back and say, this is a great band, this is a cool song, what a great record we made, and look, everyone loves it. You're not thinking like that. Fast forward now many, many years later, and suddenly this random bunch of individuals get together and they make this glorious noise, this rackety, glorious, powerful thing that no other group of individuals in the world can make together. That's really weird.
And it's
you
very
suddenly
special.
start doing these songs which are automatic, but the original intent and meaning suddenly strike you because now you've got the time and you've lived through this thing, and you don't care anymore. You don't care about being number one or number 56.
Yeah.
It means nothing to you, which is lucky because it means nothing to anybody else at the moment because that's all gone. But it means nothing. And,
it's a good way to
see
be.
mates of yours and they're playing huge stadiums, and you go along and it's great and it's a laugh and you have a laugh with them, and you're playing in Vicar Street and it's just as great, and they're all there looking at you. I mean, it's just pure pleasure. It's almost like what you imagined it would be when you were 16. That's what it's like.
I think your fans
and
probably...
as a result, the whole show just lifts itself, because it's just fun. That's all. Well, more than fun. It's fun with meaning, with intent, with purpose.
That's good to know as a fan who's going along on Sunday, because it means you're going to be enjoying doing the songs even though they're, decades old. And it means, I think, an more intimate venue is better news for diehard fans, because it means they get closer up to you and they get to really feel the performance.
Yeah, I mean, the feel of the thing is I love it. That's all I can say. I just love doing it. I love it. And, I get to, when I was in with you last time, it was probably the solo band. And so I'm lucky. I get to do those visceral tunes like that. I don't know where they came out of, but anger and rage and frustration and, determination and fuck you.
Yeah.
And I don't need that anymore. That's all been done. And then you get older and there's a more internal world. I mean, a young pop singer, he bounds his way out of school and the family and goes, hello world, here I am. And the world says, so what? And there's this great, massive indifference. Prior to that, the teachers and everything have been on your case, and you go home and your parents are on your case. So there's always a focus on you, and then you get out and nobody cares. And so, the sharp individual mind looks around with a very cold eye and looks at this world and comments on it, and that's why, as I said, pop is a young man's art or young woman's art. Suddenly you get this blinding insight. The one that immediately springs to mind is Smells Like Teen Spirit. You've no idea necessarily at first what he's saying or what he's talking about, but that noise and the here we are now, entertain us. I feel stupid and contagious. Absolutely brilliant. No idea what it means, but it means everything, especially if you've just come out of, that closed world of childhood, and you're going, here we are now, entertain us,
Impress us, yeah.
Feel stupid and contagious. That's really dangerous, I'm stupid and it's contagious. I mean, and it's a very powerful little medium.
We've proven time and time again, Bob, that music can chew you up and spit you out, and Kurt is a great example of that as well. But even closer to home, can we ask you about Sinead O'Connor and your feelings on everything that's gone on there the last day or so?
I don't know what's going on. What's going on?
Well, Sinead sadly put up a message on Facebook to say that she had checked into a hotel room, that she didn't want to be found, and that basically she'd OD'd. She was found in time, and she's been given medical attention as we speak, and we just wondered, did you have any thoughts on it? But if you didn't know about it, you didn't know about it. But
I didn't know about it, but she's a great friend, so that's the first thing you need to know. I think she's miraculous. I think she's seriously, well, clearly anyway, a great artist. We know that. But beyond that, she has her troubles, and we get along fantastically well. I think she's one of the great Irish artists. In fact, I sort of call her the 21st century's Maud Gonne almost, and she's just a great, great spirit. And sometimes that's exhausting. And, the spirit probably internally fades a little. And, but that's not her natural life. And, I'm sorry to hear that, but, she'll come out of it, she'll be back. And, Genuinely, I think she is one of the greats. She's brave girl. People think, oh, she's nuts, she's that. So many times and things she said bravely, like forget career, she doesn't care. She'll say her piece, she'll say her mind, she'll say it in such a way that you pay attention. It starts a debate, it starts the conversation. People go, Jesus, do you hear what she's up to? It starts that. And she'll say it on the most public force, she'll say it all over the world. Well, good. What's the point of being Irish if you can't do that,
It's true. Like yourself, Bob, I mean, you're known for not holding back either with stuff you feel.
Yeah, but I mean, it's much harder, as you know, sort of if you're a woman, and why that should be, I don't know. But the thing is, I genuinely admire her bravery and her mad bravery and her mad courage, and given what she came from, and given the great artistry, the absolute passion in that music. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, the drama of the music and the drama of the life. A great artist.
Listen, we really appreciate your time today. The other thing we wanted to say to you was, obviously, congrats on the wedding this year as well. Long time coming, that one.
Yeah, thanks, man.
How's married life?
Well, I'm a patient man, but, finally, after 20 years of not being shagged, I cracked.
That is patience.
Yep. And then the first one then, married couple, Christmas coming and all that. Is Christmas a special time of year? I mean, leaving out the whole Band-Aid stuff, obviously.
Yeah. Well, of course it is. Like for everybody else, that's when the children dutifully pitch up, and you do the family thing, and we do, but we do it a lot. And it's exhausting, obviously, when you're, but a good exhaustion, a sort of complete exhaustion.
Listen, we really appreciate your time. And by the way, we also chatted to a couple on the air the other day who are just rats crazy. We gave them tickets to the show. They called their kids Pete and Johnny.
They did.
Well, thanks very much for the insult, guys.
Yeah, I wondered how you take that. There's only about 5 seats left in the Olympia Sunday night. Bob Geldof, really nice to hang out.
I thought it'd be Robert and Roberta,
No, they did Pete and Johnny.
No, Pete and Johnny. Sorry. Sorry about
Bob,
you.
Before we let you go, what's 2016 got in store, or have you thought that far ahead?
Neck and stuff. I'm doing a couple of. In fact, the director's just walked into the room. I'm doing a couple of 1-hour films on Yeats.
Oh wow!
Because of all the stuff around 2016, 1916, and that
Yes.
which
Excellent.
I'm very ambivalent about, and the great genius of that time, both politically and artistically, and everything else was Yeats, who everybody knows, of course, in Ireland. He's sort of carved in stone, but what a geezer, man, just extraordinary and completely and utterly modern. And if you want to go outside in the street and look around the town or look around the country now, which is the largest legacy? And I would argue that Yeats invented Ireland, really.
Well, it's when will we see that stuff?
You'll see it, I think. I think it'll be out, just prior to April.
To Easter, okay. Okay, brilliant.
Thanks so much, Bob, for your time, and happy Christmas if it's not too early to say so.
Yeah, fuck off.
I know, it's December 1st. Sorry.
Brilliant.
I don't make the calendars.
I love it.
Talk to the Mayans.
We can go on the radio tomorrow and say Bob Geldof told us to fuck off.
Do you know what, Bob? I'm just going to actually tick this. That's my bucket list just here.
Bucket list done.
Ticked.
Take care, Bob.
Thank you.
Bye.